Joe Cordina versus Edward Vazquez, 12 rounds for Cordina's IBF featherweight title. Let's get into it. Let's start with the champ. 16 wins, no losses, 9 wins by way of knockout. It wasn't too long ago when Cordina won the title by way of knockout in a knockout of the year candidate when he fought Kenichi Ogawa in the second round. He stopped him to win the title, and now he's defending that title for the second time this year already. That's what I'm talking about, Cordina, man. Stay busy, stay active, keep building, keep growing. Now, Cordina is a nice balance of boxing skill ability with a good pop in both hands, especially that right hand. I was surprised by how the fight against Ogawa went. We did a breakdown of that video, and I felt like Cordina had the skill and the ability to come out with the win because he's explosive, right? Dynamic and twitchy with his movement, quick reflexes, good counter puncher. He's very efficient in the ring, and the footwork is good as well too. So it was a mix of all of those things. Plus, there's this internal strength and will about Joe Cordina that he has, right? That he takes with him inside of the ring. And I felt like, even though he was the underdog, he had a really good shot of beating Ogawa by way of decision. But how he entered that fight and how he seized the opportunity and found the right shot at the right time and closed it out in beautiful fashion, man, that was a statement that I wasn't expecting it to be made in how it was packaged. It was great how it ended up, right? But man, I didn't see it like that. I wasn't expecting it to end the way how it ended, but it was a good introduction at the elite level, at that championship level, to see how good Cordina really is. Cordina is not afraid of a challenge. He had a bad hand injury last year. He was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhimov, but it was postponed. He got the surgery, went back into the gym, got stripped of his title because he couldn't fight, and then decided to get back into the ring to fight Rakhimov in a fight after his surgery. And we know Rakhimov is no joke. You know, that pressure is relentless. We know he's got 14 wins by way of knockout in 17 fights. He's strong-willed, determined, and dangerous with the pressure. And I'm like, man, shout out to Cordina for getting back into the fire when he didn't have to. He could have took a lesser fight. Love the matchup, but you never know how an athlete is going to be after an injury. And even though I still felt like he would win that fight, we had some questions that we were going to need to see how it unfolded inside of the ring. So in his last fight, most recent fight, he gets into the ring with Rakhimov. And early on, it was clear to see that, man, he did not miss a beat. His footwork was wicked. The placement and his punches was precise and snappy. The hand speed was quick, and the right hand was strong and looked healthy. Rakhimov is a guy who's always going to be in your face. The pressure he brings is relentless. And so it was going to be interesting to see how Cordina was going to be able to fight off the back foot, right? Against this type of guy who brings this type of pressure and isn't afraid to let his hands go at will. And Cordina at times when he needed to would stand and bang right inside the pocket, but he also needed to be careful because you don't want to fight your opponent's fight. Rakhimov wanted it to be a brawl. And so when he did stand and trade, he did very good, man. I mean, he countered very well, didn't he? Right? Like, he hurt Rakhimov in the second round before dropping him in that same round. It was a really strong start for Joe Cordina. Rakhimov came back and tried to find his openings. He had to work hard to really find his openings because I felt like he was having a little bit of problems with the speed and the movement and the elusiveness of Joe Cordina. However, in that fifth round, Cordina got caught with a shot that hurt him and made him tie him up. But Cordina turned around the momentum in that same round before that round ended. It was one of the best fights that I've seen that year because it was a very nice back and forth fight. When one man seemed to have the momentum, the other would find a way to snatch it back. And even with the knockdown, right, it was still a close fight, a fight I'm sure many of you enjoyed as well. I thought Cordina finished the fight very well as he started. He finished it just as well. And he took the 12th round that I think put things into his favor and ended up getting the win. But it was also a fight that made me think, man, look, man, like of all the champions in the 130-pound division, there's a lot of great ones. It's like, man, when he is locked in, when he is dialed in, he is tough to beat because of the full package and the skill set that he does possess. And he's also a guy that's going to go where the fight is going to go. Like if he needs to take the risk, he's going to take it. If he has to sit back and wait and see how it plays out, he is going to do what's needed to win the fight. And I thought personally that was his best performance to me to date, right? And it's always interesting when you have a excellent performance, man. You have a great performance. Just on my experience in the professional setting, man, sometimes after a great performance, I think two things happens. Either you pick up right where you left off and you look just as dominant and just as good, or, you kind of have a down fight where you have to work a little bit harder to get it done. And, it's just not as smooth as it was the fight before, because emotions and expectations, it comes and it goes, it ebbs and it flows. Like the human body and the human mind can be strange in sports sometimes, man. Like I remember one year I ran like 10:06, right? Fast, rolling. And then 2 weeks later I ran like 10:30 and I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? You know what I'm saying? But the body after a great performance can go downwards and your performance is not as good as you would have liked it to, even if you had a great training camp, man. Things happen like that. But I'm expecting Jorge Cordina to come back and look like how he did in his last fight. That same skill, that same speed, that same grit, that same combinations, that same dynamic, that same person in the last fight. I'm expecting to show up in this fight because he's going up against a hungry fighter in Vazquez. Let's talk about his opponent, Edward Vazquez. 15 wins, 1 loss, 3 wins by way of knockout. His only loss came from when he fought Ray Ford last year. He lost that fight by split decision. That was a questionable fight. Vazquez might not have a crazy amount of knockouts on his resume, but he is no joke, man. This guy knows how to win fights and find ways how to win fights. He is tactical. He's crafty in his approach, and he finds his openings. He feints. He level changes. Even if he doesn't throw a punch, he's patient. Even if he doesn't throw a punch, man, he's trying to set up a punch just to see how you're going to react and how he can respond and make it work in his favor. He's also a switch hitter as well, right? Like he can box from both stances and he does a good job of cutting off the ring. When he fought Raymond Ford, man, I thought he made things tough for Ford, right? Vazquez fought a great fight, and I think Ford might have underestimated Vazquez because, he had Ford's timing down and he was getting the better of Ford. Right? He looked a step ahead of Ford to me in that night. It's like Vazquez stepped his game up, stepped his skill up, stepped his confidence and his ability up that night, right? Like Ford was having success when he was letting his hands go and punching in combinations instead of just these one shot off. But for the most part, man, I felt like Vazquez won the fight. I thought he landed the cleaner shot. I thought he was the aggressor. I thought he was the busier guy. And I thought he was landing the cleaner shots. Right? But Ford ended up getting the nod. It's always interesting in boxing when you talk about the judges, man. Like 2 judges had it 98, 92. I think another one had it like 93, 97 for Ford. And I was just like, you cannot be surprised, but you're a little surprised because you're like, man, what exactly are you guys watching? You know what I'm saying? But I really thought that Vazquez won that fight because he fought a very, very, very good controlled fight and made Ford uncomfortable and did what he needed to do in his skill set and stuck to his game plan. You watched that fight. Who do you think won that fight? Let me know in the comment section below. But after that, he won his next 4 fights, 2 by split decision, 2 by unanimous decision. He's been in some close fight against Lopez. It was a close fight against Lopez. Lopez came in strong towards the end of the fight when they fought. Close rounds, could have went either way. I thought it was a very good back and forth between the two, but he got the nod. In his most recent fight, he fought Brian De Gracia, who on paper is a big puncher. I mean, 25 wins by way of knockout in 29 fights. That's big pop in your shots. And he fought a very good fight against a guy who he was supposed to be weary of. Vazquez isn't the biggest puncher. And when you're fighting a guy who has 25 wins by way of knockout, you're supposed to be hesitant. You're supposed to, be a lot more tactical. You're supposed to fight on the outside, but that was not the case for Vazquez. Even though he does not pack a heavy punch, man, that he doesn't shy away from that challenge. He doesn't shy away from fighting on the inside. Doesn't shy away from being in front of you because he does move very well. He's a little more elusive than he looks inside the ring. He knows how to put his feet in the right angle so he can be out of range and be in range in a couple steps or even a couple shuffle, man. So I thought he did a very good job in his last fight to neutralizing the bigger puncher. He never let Garcia get comfortable, and he landed the more eye-catching shots, the bigger shots. I thought it was a very good performance in his last fight, man. He might not be the biggest puncher, as I said, but man, he'll bring the pressure and bring that pressure confidently. He's also not afraid to mix it up, man. He's a risk taker, right? And he's confident in his skill set. He's coming in with a great game plan. He's just a solid all-around boxer, man, who can give Cordina problems if Cordina looks past him. He's a craftier fighter than he looks. So who wins? Vazquez is going to need to have a similar fight to how he did in his last fight mixed with when he fought Raymond Ford, because Joe Cordina is a combination of both of those guys. He's got good power and he's skillful and he's got great fundamentals and it carries throughout the fight. I'm interested to see what Vazquez's game plan is and the approach he takes. Vazquez is tough, hasn't been stopped before. Right. I think Cordina can stop him depending on how much pressure he's going to bring. But, man, I think this fight goes the distance, and I have Joe Cordina winning this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're enjoying the content, enjoying the videos, getting something from it, and would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. I also hope that you consider becoming a member. We got 2 different tiers, 2 different options. You can check them out in the description below as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel, goes towards supporting the channel. And I appreciate each of you who take the time to like, comment, share, to watch in any capacity. Your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video, this time do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.